First question is, will the prosecutor seek the death penalty in the case? We have our experts standing by, taking your calls, 1-877-TEL-HLN. Before the break, we talked about whose story do we believe? Let's bring back our criminal profiler, Pat Brown. So the way we understand it, Pat, Angelica Castillo, the babysitter/cousin of Jada Justice, tells this BS story about leaving Jada in an unlocked vehicle, and then the boyfriend comes back after that and says, no, my girlfriend, Angelica, beat her to death. I told her to stop, couldn't get her to stop. He goes in the next room and watches TV while little Jada's beaten to death. Yeah, do you see holes in his story at all?
I see a big problem with this. We're hearing about the jail where he has to be tasered to be controlled. So you're telling me that this big guy cannot get control of his little 18-year-old girlfriend to stop her from beating the child? That makes me a little suspicious of that story. And we do see that an awful lot of women will cover for their abusive and violent boyfriends. So, yes, this story, I think they need to work pretty hard to see if they can break this and find out if it's really true.
Yeah, let's bring in Mike Brooks. Mike, as you look at this, what's going to tell us, what evidence will we find that'll tell us which one's responsible for little Jada's death?
Well, it's going to be, the FBI and the local police are working on this case on the evidence side of things, Mike. Is there something that, did he go buy the concrete, or did she go buy the concrete? Did they go together? There's going to be all these things and the statements that they're going to, there's a lot in the statements probably that we haven't heard on both sides. So that's what, how prosecutors are going to take a look at the totality of the evidence of all the statements and decide whether or not they will go for the death penalty. But one of the other things too, Mike, death penalties are very, very expensive, and the county said that they don't know if they have enough money to actually proceed with this because it costs hundreds of thousands of dollars with all the expert witnesses and everything else.
Let's ask John Patrick Dolan, our attorney. John, is money a factor? Does it play in?
It's always a factor. California is going bankrupt, and we have 682 people on death row that we're trying to figure out how to execute. It's always a factor. It's very expensive. And frankly, I have to tell you, with the greatest of respect to our colleagues there, this is not a death penalty case. This is a rage case. The boyfriend said he couldn't stop her from beating the child. That's awful. That's deplorable. But it's not premeditated, deliberated murder with special circumstance. So the death penalty conversation is close to irrelevant in this situation. The question is, what do you do with these young people?
Right.
Most likely, they're going to get a pretty lengthy prison sentence if it can be proven what's been said. But frankly, I don't think the death penalty is on the table.
Okay. But the maximum is only 45 to 65 years, and I tell you, I don't really think that's enough because they'll be back out on the street because they're young.
John, do you see holes in his story at all? Or do you believe his story?
Oh, it's hard to believe the story of someone who may very well be a co-defendant, and it is true that sometimes women will cover for men. But these are two young people, 17, 18 years old, and frankly, 45 or 65 years, if that was the sentence, would be, I think, more than sufficient. It's a horrible situation. Any homicide is horrible, but we have to remember we save the death penalty for the worst of the worst, the serial killers, the people that kill firemen and policemen, the people that commit torture and multiple murders. This is just not that kind of case.
Well, it's bad enough when a 2-year-old is beaten to death by her cousin, a family member, someone who was trusted. And I'm sure we all agree on that. John, appreciate it. Mike and Pat, you as well. Thanks so much. Now.